I'm not one to talk about politics or whatever's going on in the world these days, but unfortunately, it's just something that I cannot avoid anymore. I've been on YouTube, I've been continuing watching a bunch of stuff that's been happening, not just in the UK itself, but also around the world and all that stuff. And we seem to be going a very dark path this year. I mean, to be honest, this year hasn't really been all that great in general. So today I'm going to be talking about the Online Safety Act, which I have talked about in two other videos, and also something that I don't really want to talk about, but it's getting kind of obvious, and that is the immigration thing also. So the Online Safety Act is not really going well with people, the politicians and all that stuff trying to enforce it, and it's completely getting out of hands. Apple, I mentioned them in like another video where the UK government was trying to access the data vaults or something like that, and Apple refused, and the UK government backed down, so they're no longer allowed to mess with Apple and all that stuff, right? But the war is still ongoing with this Online Safety Act thing, and more and more people are not happy, and more people are signing the petition, which I have on the screen. This is the Online Safety Act. So if you haven't signed it yet, I'll put the link in the description below. But as you can see here, it has almost 530,000 signatures, which it goes to show that people do not want this, because once again it invades people's privacy, and who knows, whatever it could potentially damage like other things. I mean, I'm not really an expert on this, but I just kind of feel like that doing all this stuff is extremely unnecessary, and it's just causing more and more headaches for not just the average person like me, but also people who are running a business or this and that. And something needs to change big time. I don't know whether the change will happen sooner or maybe later, but we don't know. But it goes to show that people do not want this change, and this signatures goes to show it. So like I said, I'll put the link in the description down below. And another thing that is not really confirmed, but it's more of a scary theory that I mentioned before, that with Spotify, for example, they said in an article that if you don't show any sort of ID, right, put in the database or whatever, right, they can suspend your account and potentially delete your account, right? And this kind of goes to show for I've heard some cases here and there about some other websites that are trying to do that, and it's utterly ridiculous. And the other scary theory is that if you don't show your ID to whatever website you're using or this and that, they could potentially arrest you. Now that's just a conspiracy theory and all that stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised, because I've heard some cases here and there that people will just get arrested just because they're speaking their mind. Essentially, it kind of goes against the whole freedom of speech sort of thing. And yeah, it's I mean, that sort of thing it's nothing new, but with the Online Safety Act and what's been going on, we feel more and more claustrophobic of what we do, what we say, like they're trying to block certain things, certain content. Credit cards, debit card companies are blocking certain stuff that you can no longer buy, or they are threatening to remove themselves from, like, for example, the video game store Steam. Like MasterCard and PayPal and all that stuff have threatened to like remove themselves from that website due to certain games here and there that show that are on there that are not really favorable in their worldviews because of this stupid collective group, whatever it's called. I'm so surprised that like that whole group like started all this shit with the credit cards and stuff like that. It's utterly ridiculous. I don't know how the hell could a big company like bend the knee to some sort of activist group. It's unbelievable. One after another, like Keir Starmer, whatever his name was, whatever his name is, whatever our fucking prime minister's called. See, like I said, this is how I don't really get into politics in the UK, because it's just boring. I barely know who the prime minister names is. This is just like, it's just getting out of hand. It is not going in favour with the governments whatsoever. And sooner or later, like, people are just going to revolt, and they have been revolting against it. And that leads me to the whole immigration stuff. I mean, this is a very touchy subject, and I'm not going to like go super in depth and all that stuff. I'm just pointing out what I've seen, what I've heard, this and that. If you want to come into this country, and this is the same thing with America, I mean, I don't mind people coming into this country as long you're legally allowed in this country. Unfortunately, most people who are from different countries, who are from not really great countries and all that stuff, come over here illegally, and it's absolutely getting out of hand. And there's a bunch of protests going on that people had enough of it. For example, for some odd reason, some hotels are giving these recent immigrants that came over here, put them in hotel rooms, and people are just not having it, because there are a bunch of people out there who lived in the UK for years and years and years, or even they were born here, like who are less fortunate and stuff, maybe deserve like maybe a hotel room, just to help them out, but they're giving it to these other people from different countries. And I saw this clip where like a bunch of boats stormed a beach with a bunch of people just running across it. It was like the storming the beach of Normandy. Like, what the fuck is going on? And like the government is like, oh no, everything's fine, this and that, we welcome them. But you say welcome them, and when the next thing I heard was one of the immigrants that recently came to this country, who got a hotel room somewhere, that was charged with assaulting a kid or something of that matter. And this is another thing. These people who come over to this country have criminal records, and people are just allowing them and think it's okay. I mean, this is why I just don't like talk. This is why I just don't like talking about politics and immigration stuff and this, because it's just like, it's just so baffling and frustrating that the obvious thing is there. People think this thing is stupid. The Online Safety Act, allowing immigrants that have criminal records who are not legally allowed in here, they're just letting them go about the country with no repercussions whatsoever. It's utterly ridiculous. Back in the day, like when I hear about immigrants coming to a different country, like it's for like they want to start a new life, they want to you know, contribute to society and this and that. Like the whole American dream, that sort of thing. But that's not really the case anymore. People just like swooping the country and just think they can do whatever the fuck they want. And in America, like the ICE police or whatever they're called, I've seen a whole bunch of videos of that police raiding a bunch of streets, a bunch of neighborhoods, this and that, finding immigrants here and there, and it's unbelievable like how many they they racked up. I mean, it goes to show like how many people who are in that country illegally. And another thing, which is another recent thing I saw, it was to do with this truck driver who somehow passed through the test to become a truck driver, whatever, does not speak a word of English, and this is in America, right? This guy decided, I think it was on some sort of highway, this guy decided to make a turn in the middle of the highway to go around to the next oncoming lane or whatever, right? And unfortunately, and this is shown in a video cam in the truck itself, a car literally plowed into the trailer, killing a bunch of people. And this guy, the truck driver, does not speak a word of English. He does not know like the signs or what they say and this and that. This is unbelievable. How could this happen? Who signed this guy off saying, yeah, he works, he knows what he's doing? Is this really the world we live in? Is this like really like we're letting criminals and all that stuff like going into these other countries just to cause havoc, or even worse, they fucking killed someone? Like the USA is cracking down on this stuff, right? But the UK is just like they're trying their best to like dumb it down, but nobody's having it, and that's why there's a bunch of protests on the streets and stuff like that. I'm not really a big fan of protests in general, but when it's necessary, right? And there needs to be some sort of reform. Get our current Prime Minister out and put in with someone that actually gives a shit. That actually gives a shit about the UK people. Like a place where people will not be fucking like worried about their data being breached, or some sort of person from a different country who has a criminal record, like they can potentially like stab someone or whatever. I never dive into politics like this. I never say anything about it in a video before. But it's just kind of just goes to, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's affecting a lot of people now, whereas before I didn't really care. But now obviously seeing all this stuff, it's getting out of hand, and there needs to be some sort of reform, but only time can tell.